John Faust, the Old Souls Network. And we got a Saturday morning going off into a Saturday afternoon. And we are going to be talking about, I guess, me is what John wanted to talk about a little bit. And I was talking to John about some things I'm doing with my health. And we were having a little conversational thing. I always like to, get the conversational talk on the air, because the talk in the green room before the show goes off, a lot of times is more interesting than the show.
It's more honest because other people aren't listening.
Yeah, we just got a couple of guys talking about it, and I just told John, I said I'm gonna have to start dialysis and that journey, and John was saying you were talking to somebody yesterday. What were you saying, John?
I had lunch with a longtime racquetball person, Scott Winters, and Scott was out in California. He was part of the early days of racquetball and managed athletic facilities, was a great player. He ended up actually being the head of Prince Racket Sports and was the person behind Echelon Racquetball. So he supported me greatly through the years. And he lives in Denver. He lives in Parker now. And so we met for lunch yesterday, and, just kind of like the podcast, we were having lunch talking about a bunch of different things. And I made the comment and I said, the thing that a lot of people don't necessarily understand, and I don't put it out there that much. And, I had polio and I'm on crutches, and that's all good. Here I am, and that's fine. But what it does do is it makes my day 50% harder.
I get that.
And everything is a chore. I can do it all. Not all of it, but I can do most everything, but it's like double the effort. Like it's snowing now. If I go to shovel, I'm good with shoveling, but shoveling and balancing and throwing the snow, it's kind of an Olympic event.
Right.
And again, it's all good, but it just taking the trash out, bringing groceries in, whatever it is that I do, it requires more thought. It requires more effort. And what made me think of it is you were talking about your fatigue, and I don't have that kind of fatigue, but it just kind of adds a little more effort to your day. But the good news is I'm here, and I'm better than most, and I'm up for the challenge. So
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. And I think I was interviewing somebody the other day, and it was a counseling session, and we were trying to deal with anger with what people are dealing with other people in general. And the thing that I translated to this other person is think about what's going on with the people that you're contacting, and you don't know what people go through in their day. If you have somebody that you're interacting with and they're not doing exactly what you want them to do, who knows what happened with that coffee barista before they started their shift. They got a call and their dad died, and now they're not paying exactly the attention that you want them to pay to you at the counter of the coffee shop. And so you're going to be mad at them when their whole world is almost falling apart, and you don't realize that. because you're not the type of person that would pick on somebody whose dad just died, but you don't know.
Correct.
You know, and somebody looking at you, John, to be frank with you, you know, they wouldn't know how old you are, and they wouldn't know that you have disabilities, you know, and if they start to get frustrated with you because you're not doing things the way they think you should be doing them, or, you know, you have to pull up to a handicap spot, which I know you don't do very often, but
Actually, that's not true. I did make that transition a few years back, and
okay.
And it's primarily because I ran into the athletic club one day, and I just pulled up. I didn't have a handicap placard. I pulled up just to get a couple of things out of the car. I walked back out, and I'm getting a ticket. And the officer, I'm like, oh. And he goes, hey, man, I'm writing the ticket. You know, I've already got it started. I got to do it. So I went to court. And it was kind of funny because I'm in court and then there's a judge. And I said, yeah, you know, I just pulled up. I just unloaded this and I'm getting the ticket. And he goes, and he said, and why exactly is it that you don't have a handicap placard? And I said, well,
because I'm stubborn.
Well, that's a nice way to put it. And I said, well, it's kind of a slippery slope. I know it's hard to understand, but my feeling has always been you do everything you can do until which time you have to make an adjustment. And, you know, and then he looked right at me and he said, so do you think now is a good time? I said, yep. I think
so, sir.
And you know what? That was one of the single best things I've ever done. It's gotten, you know, I'm more popular at sporting events because people, hey, you want to go? Hey, can you bring your handicap placard?
Hey, let's get that John Faust with us. You know, and what I was gonna the point I was gonna make was I have several good friends that are handicapped. And it's disguised sometimes.
Correct.
And
this is true.
And they get there and they park and somebody wants to give somebody some shit about, you know, parking in the handicap area. And then you got to pull your pants leg up and say, hey, you know, I got an artificial leg. You know, is that okay? And then everybody's embarrassed because, you know, you assume that people are different than what they are.
And, you know, I've been guilty of that where someone has initially gotten out and I'm thinking, yeah, I don't know.
Right.
You know, but as long as they have a placard or whatever, I do not really question that. I guess it's more when people park and they have nothing, you know, because there are a lot of things that people can't see, fatigue, whatever it may be. And that really is tough. It's the people that have a disability that is not apparent. It's all relative, but people have a disability that's not apparent at a first glance. You know, that's a tough one because, you know, people don't know what they're really going through. So,
and we need to give people a little bit of grace, you know, just a little bit of space. And I think that's really important as we go through, you know.
You know, I was I go to a neighborhood Walmart store, the smaller store, and they do a great job. And like all the stores, you know, it's Walmart, it's a corporation. And I went in the other day and only had a handful of items, and I don't have any problem going through the self-checkout. And I'm listening to this guy talk to the guy that's watching people. And I thought, what are you talking about? And then I get up and I'm checking out, and it says, "How many bags?" And I turned to the guy and I said, "How many bags?" He says, "You guys don't have any bags. Here, you bring your little, you bring your bags." And I said, "How many?" I said, "You guys don't offer bags." He goes, "Well, we have paper bags over here." I said, "But what does it do to have them over there if we're here?" He goes, "Well, people steal them." I'm like, "Okay, that's fine." So then I go to get $40 cash. And it asks me, "Do you want cash back?" Yes, I do. $40. So then I do everything, and it doesn't give me cash. So now I'm getting a little irritated. And I said to the guy, I said, "I can get my cash." He goes, "Yeah. Can't get cash at the checkout anymore." I said, "Where do you get cash?" Because you got to go through a line. And I could feel myself starting to roll. And I'm like, I said, wouldn't it make sense if there was a sign up here that said, "No cash available," or whatever, just so people knew? He goes, "Yeah, they won't let us do that." I said, "Who's they?" He said, "Management." So now I'm really starting to kind of, and then I finally just went, "Okay, I got it. We're good." And then I turned to him, and I've seen the guy before. He's a good guy. And I turned to him and I said, "Listen, I'm sorry." I said, "I know you're just doing your job." I said, "But none of this makes sense to me." I said, "You are not getting paid enough to stand here and take the abuse that you're taking, because if I am giving the guy grief, someone with less of a temperament than myself is definitely unloading on the guy."
And there's a whole graduated scale
Yeah,
between the people who are really calm and understanding, and I hope to someday get more like that. Every day I try to do that. I was in a drive-through, and the guy was so nice to me with my order of my breakfast sandwich or whatever it was, that I tipped him $10, and there was something on the menu that I wanted, and they didn't have it. They said, "Oh, it's coming soon," or whatever. So I ordered something else, and I got to the front. And I'm like, "Man, that tasted good. That looked like it was really good. I wanted to get that." He said, "Yeah, man, I want to get that too. I can't wait." Blah blah blah. And I talked to him, young kid, working at a drive-through, and he is, fits the profile of a lot of the people that I work with in the inner city that are being tempted to go the wrong way. And when I recognize somebody that has a great attitude, and instead of going out there and doing wrong with their energy, because they can sell drugs or steal catalytic converters or do prostitution or whatever, here's this young gentleman who's really great looking kid, and you could tell, he could be doing other things, but he has humbled himself enough to work in a drive-through of a food place first. Second, what a great, just a great attitude. He's talking to me, and so I tipped him $10 at the end, and I said, "Man, keep your positive attitude. And when they get that sandwich back that you and I both want to get," I said, "I'm buying your first one," and I gave him $10. And he said, "Oh, thanks a lot." And to me, that's me making an effort to try and be different. Instead of getting up to that window and saying, take that picture off of there. You guys are advertising it and you don't have it, and blah, blah, blah. And really turning it into a bad situation where this kid says, you know what? Everyone around me is stealing stuff and, stealing from stores. And here I am wearing this stupid uniform in this place and blah, blah, blah. I'm not putting up with this anymore because of that individual.
You are so 100% correct. And it's important to reward good behavior. And I've gone through, I don't go to the fast food like I used to, but I'll still sucker in and go and get whatever every now and then. As long as it's not a lifestyle, it's good. And I've often, looked at people and thought many of the things that you're thinking, he's probably the exception. She's probably the exception to the rule with the people that they're around. And here they are. They're trying to get started out in life and doing a job. And sometimes I pull up like what you're saying, and I get my places confused. And sometimes I pull up and I'll just say, they'll go, hey, yep, I got to get you. And I'll go, you know what? I've completely lost track of what the hell your specials are. Is it 2 for $5? Is it 2 for $6? Is it what? And then they'll kind of laugh and say, oh yeah, it's 2 for $6 or whatever. And it's this.
2 for $26.
Yeah, whatever.
Anymore.
Yeah. And it's like, cool, thanks. I said, I don't come through enough. I forget. And then I ask for something. They're like, we haven't offered that like in 2 months. Oh, sorry. But they do. And I have a gal at the Walmart station. Her name is Tammy. She is just so great. Knows everybody that comes through the store. Anytime somebody walks by, even if they're not in her line, if they walk by and there's a kid, she'll say something and reach under and give them a crayon and a coloring thing. And she is just so nice. And a lot of times when I get groceries, I'll get $40 back. And one of our standing jokes between Tammy and I is one of the first times before we developed our relationship, I was getting $40 back. And she said, how would you like that? And I said, hundreds? And she laughed. And so that's our standing thing is she'll always give me 220s, but she'll go, would you like this in hundreds? And so every now and then I will go over to the lotto scratch ticket machine and I'll throw in $10 or I'll throw in $20 and just walk back over and give it to her.
Yeah.
And she probably is lost every time. But the fact of the matter is, maybe not. And the fact that I do it matters.
You win every time you do that.
Yeah.
No matter what gets scratched off, you win by recognizing her. And one of my favorite things to do is, and really this is more my wife is the juggernaut around this, but I enjoy doing it. Give a little gift to the people that are in the front of the doctor's office.
Oh yeah.
And whether it's a box of candy or one of something of cookies or whatever it is, and those people, you give them respect, and then you form this little friendship with them, and it's amazing. They start taking care of you like you're their own. I walked in and checked into a doctor yesterday, and we had a leftover little Christmas. My wife buys Christmas gifts from Costco, like the cookie thing or some
Right,
bowl with
right,
a bunch
right,
of stuff in
right.
it. She's afraid some neighbor's going to come over and give us something, and she won't have something to give them. Oh, we have this for you. So we have this stockpile of this Christmas gifts or whatever. And there was one left in the back bedroom. So
That's
I
when you
grabbed
know
it.
you're in a good neighborhood, by the way.
What's that?
When that happened, that's when you know you're in a good neighborhood.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I came in and I just reached through the window and dropped that little cellophane thing in the bowl off. And then I finished checking in. She saw it. I saw it. I didn't mention anything about it. I just whatever. And by the time I went to go sit back down and wait to be called, I told her, I said, "Oh, and that's for you girls up here. That's not, don't give that to the doctor.
Right.
The doctors get enough. That's for you guys." She laughed. And people recognize that. And my nephrologist even said, "Oh, I got your Christmas gift that you dropped off. They put it on my desk." And that was a couple of months ago. And I said, that was for your girls. Oh, and I gave it to them. I said, yeah. And they recognize it. They recognize it, and it's so enriching when you tell them, "Hey, the care you're giving me is unbelievable." That combination punch with, "Hey, he gives us a little gift. He's super nice to us." And he talks about, how well cared for he is.
It is huge. I mean, probably, even though we go back 35 years now, we didn't always have the relationship that we have.
Correct.
And it's all kind of based off of just mutual respect and not abusing your position or my position or whatever, and building relationships at fundamental levels. I am treated, with few exceptions, and I can't even think of what the exceptions would be, I'm treated like a king most any place that I go. I mean, I have Meadow Hills Golf Course down the street, and it's a City of Aurora course. That's like my private country club.
Yeah.
I mean, other than someone who just got hired, everybody knows me. We all joke with each other. And sometimes one time I went down to the range and I'm hitting balls and there's range buckets everywhere. And when I go in, I'll go in and I'll get a token to go hit balls, and I'll say, "Hey, can I borrow one of the used carts?" Because it's a pretty good jaunt from the clubhouse to the driving range. And so, "Can I steal a used cart?" "Oh, yeah, sure." So I get my clubs, I go down, and I hit my balls, and then I see that there's like 20 some odd buckets, range buckets.
So you do the right thing and pick them up.
I pick them up and I take them back.
Yeah.
And if somebody sees that I take it back, fine. If somebody doesn't see that I take them back, that's fine. And so I'm down there hitting. This actually happened to me there and at another course one time, because it's just not that big of a deal to do it. And then one time I was out at the range and the guy comes by and he's like, so I go over and he hands me like a handful of the tokens for the range. Well, these things are worth $5 a piece.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he probably gave me $60 worth of range tokens. I didn't ask for it.
Of course.
I got it. And like I said, when I go over there, and I have had people say, "Is there anybody here that doesn't know you?"
Yeah.
I go, "Yeah, there might be, but I don't know who they'd be." And even
Well,
at that
and
lunch.
we've
Yes,
talked about it before, John, on this show. That is true wealth.
it is
When
true.
you're in your space, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and they said, and it's a really good man, and he's been through some things, but he said, I am so fully satisfied with my life and how well it is. I wouldn't want anything different or more. I'm so happy. His daughter lives with them, and their little grandbaby lives with them out there. And, you know, such a good perspective of having, you know, a good life and appreciating it. You know, I mean, unreal. And John, to touch on what you were saying about our relationship, that the thing that when I look back on our relationship is I don't remember specific controversies that you and I might have, but I know they happened. I know they happened
Yeah.
because I'm an alpha type of guy.
You are
You are
definitely a strong guy.
you are a super alpha type of an individual. And we both want to win. We both put ourselves in areas where we're competing with each other over some certain thing. And we butt heads and we purposely butt heads. You're an OSU fan. I'm an Oklahoma fan. There's ribbing, there's competition. And sometimes it's probably gone over the line. I know that in my life, I have made a mistake and not been the right person for certain people in life because I know that. And I have to admit that to say, hey, look, you're not perfect. But hopefully, if I'm doing things that are on the other side of the pendulum, and it says, you know, that Mark Hope, he stepped on my foot that one time at the poker game or whatever, and I don't like that guy. But then it comes back and says, you know, hey, that guy helped me. We did a radio show together. You know, we made this bond of friendship, and he reached out to me if I needed anything, or I reached out to help him. And all the other stuff is forgotten. You know, you can make up for things in life and turn it positive.
And again, what you're saying, it's all true, and you're right. I mean, I'm a strong-willed individual. I attempt to do the right things, but I don't always do the right things. And yeah, I mean, when I think about you and I, that the one thing that you would do at poker, I'm going to see if you can guess what
Don't
this
bring
is.
this up.
The one thing you would do at poker when we were playing at Steve's house and stuff, well, even at the big game, but I don't think you did it as much at the big. Yeah, you did. There was one thing that you were at my table, and we would be, for people who don't play poker, you can play cash, you can play a tournament. Cash is a completely different game. Tournament is kind of a marathon. And if Mark was at my table, I would just kind of go, I know what's coming. And what would you do?
All in, no look.
That's right.
Yeah.
First hand.
Yeah.
First hand at the sorry. Oh, I almost cussed. First hand at the table. You knew it was coming. All in. I'm not looking. It's like, please. Can I move? Can I go to another table? But I knew it was coming. And so my decision was, you know, and somebody, whoever,